You know that moment when you sit down to start something, and instead, you just stare at the screen? You tell yourself you'll begin in 5 minutes. Then you scroll, maybe make tea. Then somehow, it's been an hour. You haven't started, but the guilt has. It's not that you don't want to do it. You do. You just can't begin. That's procrastination, the quiet loop that traps us between wanting to act and failing to start. And the hardest part? It's not the task itself. It's starting. The 2-minute rule. But there's a tiny trick, a rule that takes just 2 minutes, that can completely change how you start. The 2-minute rule. It's called the 2-minute rule. And in this video, we'll explore what it really means, how it works, and why it's backed by behavioral science. We'll look at how people, from top students to everyday professionals, use it to overcome resistance and build consistency. By the end, you'll know how to apply this rule to studying, working, and even everyday habits, so you can finally stop waiting for motivation and just start. Procrastination isn't laziness. It's fear. Fear of discomfort, imperfection, or effort. Our brain is wired to avoid pain, even the small kind, like effort or uncertainty. So it invents reasons to delay. I'll start when I feel ready. I need to plan first. I should just check one more thing. But that feeling of readiness never really comes. Because waiting for motivation doesn't create action, action creates motivation. That's where the 2-minute rule steps in. It lowers the barrier between you and starting. The 2-minute rule was popularized by James Clear in his book Atomic Habits. It's simple. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. But there's a deeper version too. When you're facing a big task, scale it down so the first step takes 2 minutes or less. Writing an essay? Just open the document. Want to start exercising? Put on your shoes. Need to study? Just open the book and read one line. That's it. You're not committing to finishing the task. You're committing to starting. Because once you start, momentum carries you forward. Think about it. It's easy to keep going once you've begun. The hard part is taking that first step. Here's the interesting part. When you start something small, your brain releases a tiny burst of dopamine, the same chemical that motivates you to keep going. It's the satisfaction of progress. Even if you've only done a small thing, your brain counts it as success. And success creates momentum. This is what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished tasks stay active in your mind. So once you begin, your brain actually wants to continue, to close that loop. The 2-minute rule uses this effect against procrastination. It tricks your brain into motion, not through pressure, but through permission. Let's make it practical. Here's how to apply the 2-minute rule in your day-to-day life. First, identify your sticking point. Notice where you procrastinate most. Is it starting assignments? Cleaning your desk? Answering emails? Pick one area. Don't try to fix everything. Focus on the single task that drains the most mental energy just thinking about it. For example, let's say you keep avoiding studying. Your sticking point might not be the studying itself. It might just be opening the textbook. That's your trigger spot. That's where you'll apply the rule. Next, shrink the task. Ask yourself, what's the 2-minute version of this? If your goal is to study for an hour, your 2-minute version might be, open my notebook and highlight one sentence. If your goal is to exercise, it might be, put on my running shoes. If it's cleaning, it could be, pick up just one thing. The key here isn't the outcome, it's the action. Because once you start, something shifts. You might think, well, I've already opened the book. I might as well read one more line. That's momentum. That's how habits begin. Finally, make it a ritual. Consistency matters more than intensity. If you practice the 2-minute rule daily, you'll start associating action with ease instead of pressure. Make it part of your identity. Not, I need to study, but I'm someone who always starts. That shift, from outcome-based to identity-based, is what keeps habits alive. And here's a small hack. Attach your 2-minute start to something you already do. After I make coffee, I open my laptop. After I brush my teeth, I read one page. That's how small habits stack and grow. Let me share a few examples. There's a student I once coached who struggled to study consistently. She'd make elaborate timetables, but never follow through. So I told her, forget the schedule. Just do 2 minutes. Every night, open the book and read one paragraph. 2 weeks later, she was studying for an hour each night. Not because she forced herself, but because starting no longer felt heavy. Another friend applied it to fitness. He used to say, I'll work out when I have time. That time never came. So he began doing just 2 minutes of push-ups before bed. No pressure, no gym, just 2 minutes. 6 months later, he'd built a full routine, all from the smallest possible start. That's the beauty of this rule. It's not about instant transformation. It's about removing friction, one small action at a time. But there are a few mistakes to watch out for. Don't treat the 2-minute rule as a shortcut for productivity guilt. If you start something and stop after 2 minutes, that's fine. Don't punish yourself for not doing more. The goal is consistency, not perfection. Don't expect motivation to appear instantly. The first few days might feel mechanical. You're just forcing yourself to start. That's normal. Momentum takes time. And beware of the planning trap. Some people spend 2 minutes organizing instead of starting. That's still procrastination, disguised as productivity. The 2-minute rule isn't about planning the task. It's about doing the first action. Here's something I realized after using this rule myself. It's not just about efficiency. It's about identity. When you teach your brain that starting is easy, you begin to see yourself differently. You stop being someone who procrastinates and become someone who takes action. That shift changes everything. Because once you see yourself as a doer, you no longer wait for motivation, you create it. And ironically, that's what breaks the cycle of procrastination for good. Let's quickly recap. Procrastination isn't laziness, it's resistance. The 2-minute rule lowers the barrier to starting. Start small. The goal is to begin, not to finish. Use momentum. Action creates motivation. Build identity. See yourself as someone who starts. Those 5 points are simple, but if you practice them daily, they change how you move through life. Because once you master starting, you can build anything. So, here's your challenge. Think of one thing you've been putting off. It could be studying, writing, cleaning, anything. Now ask yourself, what's the 2-minute